إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن من أزواجكم وأولادكم عدوا لكم فاحذروهم وإن تعفوا وتصفحوا وتغفروا فإن الله غفور رحيم إنما أموالكم وأولادكم فتنة والله عنده أجر عظيم فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم واسمعوا وأطيعوا وأنفقوا خيرا لأنفسكم ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون. Dear brothers and sisters, we begin by praising Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send peace and blessings upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon his companions, and upon all those who have treaded in their footsteps of righteousness and piety. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah allow us to follow in the complete teachings of the Quran and in the complete lifestyle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If someone were to ask, what sort of advice does the Quran give? There's many ways to answer that question. Depending on the situation of the person, depending on the type of person, the answer can vary. The Quran gives out many different types of advice. And that advice is at times suitable for people, at times it's not suitable for people. And being suitable simply means that sometimes that advice is befitting for that person's circumstances, and at other times it may not necessarily apply to that person's current situation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran gives advice regarding our families. Anyone with a family, anyone that may be a father, a mother, a husband or a wife, the following ayat, the following advice which the Quran gives us, it's crucial for us to keep in mind and take into consideration. In Surah At-Taghabun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and this is general advice to anyone with a family, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّ مِنْ أَزْوَاجِكُمْ وَأَوْلَادِكُمْ عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, O you who believe, إِنَّ مِنْ أَزْوَاجِكُمْ وَأَوْلَادِكُمْ. Indeed, at times you will have family members, you will have people from your family who عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ. They have, although their intentions may be good, they are misleading you, they are misdirecting you. And the wording Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses in this ayah is, someone may say, oh, the wording is a little harsh, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ, that they are an enemy for you, they are your enemies, right? How can a family member be your enemy? So the wording may seem a little harsh. In reality, the message Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is delivering from this ayah is that at times there will be people in your family, whether it be your husband, whether it be your wife, whether it be one of your children. At times, the things that they will encourage you to do, at times they will advise you and instruct you to do things which are in reality harmful for you. Their intentions may be good, right? You look deep down, you ask them, why are you giving me this sort of advice or instruction? Their intentions may be good. In their heart, what they are offering may be good. But at the end of the day, it's ill-advised instruction. It's no good for you, right? So that's the point Allah is making. That just because this person may be your husband, just because this person may be your wife, just because this may be your child, does not always necessarily mean that the advice they give you, what they encourage you to do, is always going to be good for you. Likewise, at times, another meaning of this ayah is that from your family there will be people who mislead you, who misguide you. Not intentionally, not through instruction and advice, but because of the love you have for them, because of your emotions towards them, Sometimes it may be that you love one of your family members so much that you're willing to compromise your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them. And other times it may be that one of your family members, you hate them so much that you're willing to disregard that advice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in treating them with honor, dignity, respect, and looking after them as your responsibility. So there's different things, different messages which can be derived from this ayah. In essence, the basic message of this ayah is that when family comes in between your obligation, when family becomes a barrier from us fulfilling our obligation, our duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's when it becomes a problem. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making us aware of this. He's saying, فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ, that be aware of this, be cautious of this. Don't let your family delude you. Don't let your family misguide you. That just because this may be my son, or just because this may be my husband or wife, whatever it may be, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes before everyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in fact comes even before ourselves, right? And we know that there's always exceptions, right? Don't just take this in a very general blanket statement. There are always exceptions, right? For example, if our life is in danger, then obviously we are allowed to do things that on normal circumstances we may not be able to, right? But nevertheless, going back to this ayah, we gave three meanings of this ayah. The first is where your family members give you wrong advice. They give you wrong instruction. Some examples of that may be that your husband or your wife is saying, take your wealth and use it for a wrong cause, use it for a wrong purpose, right? You have a certain amount of money, you may want to donate to the masjid, you may want to donate to some sort of orphanage, you may want to help someone with your money. And your husband or your wife gives you the exact opposite advice. They say, why are you going to give so much money to someone that you're never going to see? Why are you going to give your money to this person? This person, they can go and work for themselves. Why are you going to give your money to the masjid? There's enough people giving money. Let's just save our money. We need it more than anyone else. That's the sort of wrong advice that sometimes our own family members give us. Because now they are obstructing us from receiving reward. They are becoming a barrier from us getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At times, it may be a complete different situation. It may be that you want to utilize your time to learn about the deen. It may be that there's some sort of seminar or some sort of workshop or some class going on, and you really want to attend that class. And someone from your family is saying, you're going to go there and the entire day is just going to go to waste. It's a weekend. Let's go hang out somewhere. Let's go have fun someplace, right? They are becoming a barrier from you getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from becoming someone who receives reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the first situation, the first meaning of this ayah, where someone from your family is a constant barrier, right? A constant barrier from you becoming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A constant barrier from you achieving that high ranking position in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before we move any further, just want to go back to this ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna min azwajikum. Scholars, they say this word min is littabi'id, is for tabi'id means the English word you can say is that it's not an inclusive message, meaning not every person from your family is going to do that. There are certain people from your family. It may be your wife, it may be your husband, it may be one of your children, right? So it's not an inclusive statement that every single member from your family is going to be like this. Rather, what it's saying is that there are going to be one or two people from your family who will consistently block you from getting in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will block you from receiving more reward than you actually can. The second scenario that we went over is where a person right? And keep in mind that this person may not even know that they are causing you harm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word aduwwun lakum, enemy. An enemy is a person that wants bad for you, right? An enemy is a person that's going to stop you from achieving anything. An enemy is a person that's going to do whatever they can to make sure that you do not defeat them or you do not become better than them. And their intentions are very clear, right? That's what they want to do. At times our families may do the same things as our enemies, but their intentions may be completely different, right? The second scenario of this ayah is where our families become a barrier from us doing good because of the love that we have for them, right? Because of the love that we have for them. I'll give you an example. This is a very common example. During the month of Ramadan, especially now in summer, right? I've heard many incidents where the children are not fasting. Why? Because their parents tell them, you're too young to fast. The kid is 15 years old. The children tell them, you don't have to fast. It's very hot outside. You have to go to school. You may, it's going to be too difficult for you. So don't fast, right? That's when a person, their love for a certain member of their family ends up blocking them from doing what's right. Another example, it may be that, we tell our children, I'm not going to wake him up for Fajr today. Why? Because he has to go to school. He's going to have a long day. If I wake him up, he's going to be tired. So I'll just let him sleep. I'll go for Fajr, but I'll let him sleep. Right? That's a different scenario. Or it may be where between husband and wife, where, the husband says, I'm just going to let my wife do this because I don't want to be too strict on her. I don't want to be too difficult. Or maybe the wife is saying the exact same thing, that I'll just let him slide with this. I'll just let him continue to do what he wants to do. Why? Because I don't want to nag. I don't want to bother him. I don't want to go in the way, right? Where a person's love becomes the barrier from encouraging others to do good. Where a person's love becomes the barrier from doing what is correct. So there's two situations or two scenarios in this ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ, that whatever the situation may be very, very aware. And this goes back to the entire basis of our deen. That the entire basis of our deen is being intentional. We read that ayah, we read that hadith. All of us are familiar with the hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that all actions are based on a person's intentions. That a Muslim is a person who does everything intentionally, right? A Muslim is a person who is aware of what they are doing, the direction they are headed. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again reminding us of. That at times we do things just because people tell us to do it. Sometimes things happen and we're unaware, we're out of control. As a Muslim, we should always try our best to be intentional regarding everything we do, number one. And number two, figure out which direction we're headed. Right? This person is telling me do this, that person is telling me do this. Which direction will that lead me to? Will this lead me to getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or will this lead me to getting off track with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The second part of this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Right, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is balancing out this ayah. Initially Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first part of this ayah was somewhat harsh. That they're your enemies. If you have a family member who keeps on blocking you from becoming a better Muslim, that person is your enemy. What do you do with your enemy? You get rid of them, right? You completely remove them from your life. The second part of this ayah, Allah is balancing it out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. The second part of this ayah is mentioning to us that yes, you will have those people in your family. There will always be family members that block you from doing good. But if you can be the better person, if you can be the person that overlooks that, if you can be the person that forgives that person, and you say, okay, I'm aware that this person is constantly blocking me from becoming a better Muslim. I'm aware that this person or my love for this person is constantly blocking me from doing what's right. وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا. In other words, what Allah is saying is if you can continue to move forward, if you can continue to say and tell yourself that I will do whatever it takes, I will figure out a way to make this situation better, as opposed to just saying that I give up, right? As opposed to saying that I give up. If you try to figure out a solution, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. If you try to figure out a solution, you forgive this person. Yes, this person may have blocked me once, this person may have done this to me that other time. You find a solution, right? You forgive them. You say, okay, you did it once, inshallah next time maybe we can work something out. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. If you forgive them, then Allah will forgive you, right? If you're willing to take a second chance with them, if you're willing to continue to work with them, to figure out a way, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will work out something and give you a second chance. Right? So now this ayah has been balanced. It's, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning us of the reality, right? Sometimes people have very unexpected and unrealistic expectations of life, right? You meet some people, they're completely unrealistic. They have an idea in their mind and everything is supposed to work A, B, C, D, and it's supposed to go in line, and if it doesn't, then they get frustrated, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that's not the situation, right? Because in a perfect world, the family is supposed to be our support. In a perfect world, the family is supposed to be the motivating force for us to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's not reality. Allah is reminding us of reality. That the reality of this world is that sometimes your own family may be diminishing your reward. It may be that your family is the one that's preventing you from moving forward. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala balances out this ayah by saying that don't give up on your family just yet. Right? Don't give up on your family just yet. Because it's your responsibility as well to help your family to move forward with them. When you're in a family, it's not just about yourself, right? It's not just about how can I excel. Being in a family is like being in a team. You have to worry about everyone else. It's not just how I can become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's also how can I bring my husband closer to Allah? How can I bring my spouse closer to Allah? How can I bring my children to Allah closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So just because there may be individuals or members of your family that are blocking you, that are withholding you from getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is mentioning to us that just don't give up on them yet. Because if you give them a second chance, if you continue to try to bring them closer, if you continue to try to get them on the same page as you, as someone who wants to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you forgive them, you overlook their mistakes, you overlook their shortcomings, then Allah will forgive you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will overlook your shortcomings. Because at a time, we all have our limits. We all have our limitations. We can't be perfect. So where we lag, where we have our shortcomings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us in that regard. But on condition that we're willing to overlook the shortcomings in our family members and we're willing to work with them so that as a group we can move forward. And not just saying, you're becoming a person that's hard to work with, I'm just going to take you out of my life, right? And as a side note, before we move any forward, before we get into the other parts of the ayah, just as a side note, right, a complete different topic. There's in the Muslim community itself, there's let's put it this way. When two people get married, right, when husband and wife get married, our deen has permitted and has allowed husband and wife to seek divorce, right? That's allowed. That's not a problem. And in the Quran, and maybe in a different instance, inshallah, we'll cover it, but Allah gives advice that if husband and wife are having a difficult time with one another, what are the steps they should take? In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that first they should, try to work it out amongst each other. The second is, if that doesn't work, then bring third parties, get them involved. See if you can get someone to handle the situation. Maybe go to a marriage therapist or marriage counselor, whatever the case. Or go to someone in your community or your family that has some experience in dealing with marriage issues and problems. And then the third advice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives is that if that doesn't work, then maybe you just need to separate and stay away from one another for some time until until you forget about all the bad things that you've done to one another. And then finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, at that juncture, if nothing has worked, if you've tried pretty much everything, at that point Allah will allow a divorce. It's not encouraged, but it is allowed. Why? Because it happens. You marry the person, you think that they're the person of your dreams, and then it turns out they're not, right? It's normal, it happens, right? It's happened during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's happened on many occasions. So that's allowed. But the point I want to make is, you get married and people don't understand anything about divorce, and they give out divorces, they mess everything up, and then they come and they expect other people to fix their situation. And that's something very important to understand, right? If you overdose your child with, Tylenol, and you go to the doctor and you tell them, I overdosed my child with Tylenol and he's about to die, can you fix him? Whose fault is that? Why didn't you take 2 minutes to call a doctor or find out before you do something? Right? And this is becoming more and more prevalent, that husband and wife get into an argument, the husband gives out divorces, and then they come and they say, can you fix this situation? I can't fix the situation. No imam, no scholar can fix your situation if you were not smart enough to take 2 minutes to call someone and say, here's what's going on, can you help me? Right? It's not going to work. So that's a very important point, just as a side point we want to make. When you get married, do you just get married out of nowhere? And then you come to the imam, I got married, I don't know what to do now. Obviously you plan it out, and we know in our culture we spend $40,000, $50,000 in getting married, and sometimes it takes 2 years to plan it out. Divorce is a very similar situation. You have to plan out your divorce, right? And some people think that you come to the imam or you go to the scholar or whatever the case, and they're going to solve your situation in 2 minutes. Try getting a divorce in America. It'll take you 3 to 6 months, couple of $1,000s, and a couple of attorneys, right? It's a legal aspect. It's a legal issue. The point is, be conscious of what you're doing. When situations like this arise, don't be impulsive. I had a call the other day, the person saying, I got angry when I gave divorce. No one's happy when they're giving divorce, right? Does it count? So people have to really think about these kind of things, because I can't change the law. You go to Cherry Hill Masjid, they're not going to change the law for you, right? You go to Philadelphia, they're not going to change the law for you, right? If you're an adult, you have to understand that this is a very important issue. Just like how people plan out their marriage, if that situation arises where there's a divorce that's imminent, you have to plan that out. There's a certain way of giving a divorce, right? Here's the funny thing. To get married, you don't need an imam. You don't need a scholar to perform your marriage. If there's witnesses and you say to the person, I want to marry you, and the person says, I accept, you're married, right? But if someone called me today and saying that I want to get my daughter married, and I tell them, you can just do it on your own. I'll send you a video. I'll send you instructions. No one's going to be satisfied with that. But when it comes to divorce, they do everything, and then, people come and complain. This happened, that happened, I don't want to sit down. Just solve our issue for us, right? It doesn't work like that, brothers and sisters, right? And, it's not to pinpoint anyone, because in the past 2 weeks, we've had 5 situations with divorces. So it's not just one person. So we're not pinpointing anyone or picking on anyone, right? In the past 2 weeks, there are 5 situations regarding divorce. So it's a very big issue, and people have to be aware of it. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because we're talking about family life, and more importantly, you in the community may know someone who's going through this sort of issue, right? If you are not a licensed marriage therapist or a counselor, if you are not trained or you don't have expertise in that, please don't give them advice. Please, right? Do yourself a favor and just stay quiet. I don't give people that advice. I'm not a marriage counselor. I don't have any expertise in that, right? Just because you've been married for 63 years doesn't make you a marriage counselor. If you know someone who's going through those sort of situations in their life, tell them to seek proper consultation and guidance, right? Tell them to go to a marriage therapist. If they are contemplating divorce, tell them to go to an imam and figure out what the right way of giving divorce is, right? And you may know someone like that. And that's why it's important to mention this, because they may be coming to you. They may be coming to you and saying, what should I do, right? Or how do I do it? If you don't know, please send them to someone who does. And don't tell them, well, just give them divorce, right? Because no one likes to do that. And there's always some sort of regret and remorse after it happens, right? So we went off on a tangent, somewhat unrelated to what we're talking about, but it was nevertheless very, very important, considering that in recent events and recent situations. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to do things the correct way and according to the guidelines of the Quran and the Sunnah. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته. أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters, so we began today's khutbah with advice from the Quran regarding certain members in our family. Just to highlight, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there will be individuals from your family, not your entire family, but there will be members in your family that obstruct you, that come in the way of you getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? There will always be people like that, even if they are part of your family, right? And when a person stops you from getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what they are doing is they are behaving like your enemy, because they are not allowing you to do what's good. In the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ وَاللَّهُ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. That indeed, إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ, that your wealth and your children, they can be a potential hindrance for you, right? They can come in the way. And as we mentioned, that the second meaning of this is that where you have so much love for your family, you have so much love for a certain member of your household, that it stops you from doing what the right thing is. And over here Allah adds your wealth. At times we have so much love for our wealth that it becomes a hindrance from us doing what is the correct thing, from obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahu indahu ajrun adim. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a subtle reminder that understand that what Allah has in store for us, whenever we choose to do what is right, then what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rewards and treasures are much better than anything that we can get from this world, right? And as we mentioned in the previous ayah, that Allah balances us out. That just because there are members in your family, there are individuals in your family that may be blocking you, that may be stopping you from progressing towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't give up on them. Because if you take a second chance with them, if you try to work it out in a way where you get them on your side, then inshallah Allah will give you a second chance as well. Then finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ وَاسْمَعُوا وَأَطِيعُوا وَأَنْفِقُوا خَيْرًا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. That indeed fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ, as much as you can. Right? Again, Allah understands that in this world, in reality and life, there's no such thing as perfect. Right? You can't find anything that is perfect. We are not perfect. There's nothing that's perfect. And Allah understands that. And at times there are situations where we may not be able to have the perfect outcome. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ, try as much as you can. Right? If you can't do it 100%, then do it 50%. Do it 25%. Because 25% is much better than 0%. What Allah is saying is that if you can't obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 100%, then obey Allah 25%, 30%, 5%. Don't completely give up. So obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the best of your capability. Right? وَاسْمَعُوا وَأَطِيعُوا, and obey what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to say. وَأَطِيعُوا, listen and obey to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to say. وَأَنْفِقُوا خَيْرًا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ, and give that which is good. خَيْرًا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ, because it is good for you. When you do these things, when you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the end it benefits no one other than yourself. وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Then finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ending this ayah by saying, understand it's not an easy ride, it's not an easy journey. وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ, whoever can, يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ means whoever can put themselves through that trial, whoever can get them through those difficult times. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, they are the ones who are successful. That's the same situation in this world and in the hereafter. The people who are successful in this world, it's because they overcame the difficulties in life. They overcame the challenges. They took themselves out of their comfort zone. Right? Everyone wants to sleep in. Everyone wants to have a very comfortable lifestyle. But we know if we want to succeed, if we want to pass an exam, if we want to make that sale, if you want to get a promotion, you have to work hard. Likewise, if you want to get into Jannah, you have to work hard for it. It's not just going to be given to you. Right? You have to work hard for it. You have to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you're worthy of it. And only then will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give it to you. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to realize that, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all of us hard workers towards our deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us hard workers, working hard to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all of us worthy of receiving the mercy of Allah and receiving Jannah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ameen. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه ولا تكفرون أقيموا الصلاة.